Hi, friends, and welcome to Lights On, a Neuromoms Collective podcast, a space where caregivers of TBI survivors can breathe out for a few minutes. Grab your coffee, your wine, and take a walk with us.
We are your hosts, Amanda and Erin. We are the co founders of Neuromoms Collective. Here we share real talk and tiny sparks of joy from life inside the brain injury caregiving, because even on the darkest days, there's always a glimmer.
Today, we're diving into the first 24 hours after a brain injury, those chaotic, overwhelming hours, and the tiny sparks of light that help us carry through. Erin, you know this personally. Dallas was 24 when he had an AVM rupture.
Yeah, and those first hours were terrifying. Amanda, you've been through it too. Mackenzie was just 16 when she and her sister Sadie were in that terrible car accident.
Exactly. So today we're talking about those first 24 hours. What's real, what's raw, and what helped us survive.
All right, before we get started, let's take one breath together. Inhale and exhale. All right.
We are here with open hearts, knowing that the first 24 hours after a brain injury can feel disorienting and heavy. But even in the chaos, there are tiny lights, moments of hope, connection, and love.
So if you're feeling wobbly, and wobbly is a word that we love, that is okay. You are not alone. Let's get into it. So let's flip the light switch on and get talking about how that went down. I still remember the first 24 hours with Dallas, the hospital, the alarms, the nurses, the confusion. Everything felt amplified for us.
Absolutely. Every sound, every decision, every question felt enormous. And yet, even in that chaos, there were tiny moments of grace. The first nurse who explained what was happening, or a friend who sat quietly by us, those thousands of tiny lights. And I think that's what, when we hear those things as caregivers, and even in the middle of it, when we're feeling so overwhelmed, those small acts of kindness can carry us through those moments.
Totally. One moment you're completely lost, the next there's tiny insight and supportive words, or just even the sound of somebody you love being there giving you a glimmer of hope. One thing that we were talking about beforehand is that we don't necessarily see those sparks when they're happening, but we can look back days and weeks and years later and see that even in those darkest moments, there were some glimmers.
And I've even found reflecting back, there's things that I didn't remember. But as conversations have happened, I start to remember maybe it was somebody that visited, a funny event that happened, or some snack that I was able to find. They had little orange sherbet cups, and those were our favorite.
Yes. There was a lot of moments where I would drink a glass of water and be like, I have been successful. I have blown my nose so that I can breathe again. That is success, right? You have to take the little victories where you can. Amanda, I wasn't with Dallas when his TBI happened, and you were not with Mackenzie and Sadie, but you were able to get to them pretty quickly. Can you give us a brief overview of how you got to them, found out about the accident and got to them, and try to remember if there was any glimmers even in those first couple of hours?
So we lived right down the road from where the girl's accident was. Any typical day, I had somebody call, didn't know the number, didn't answer. Then there was a knock at the door. We live in a very small community. So someone had come down and told my husband that we needed to get down the road right away. There'd been an accident. He came back and said, "Hey, somebody said there was an accident and we need to go down there, but it's not our car." I knew it was the girls. Just being in the community that we're in and having people that know us personally come to the door, be there for us. When we arrived on the scene, there was already people there caring for Sadie sitting in the grass. They had blankets wrapped around her. Somebody had already called my parents. Somebody had already gotten a hold of my husband's mom that lived kitty corner from the house. So just already there were people just coming around us and offering us love and support within the first initial minutes of the event happening.
And you really needed that because even though you could get to the girls, you could get within a close proximity. Sadie was sitting in the grass. She was physically not as harmed by the accident, but Mackenzie was in horrendous shape when you got there.
We got there and I wanted to run to the car. I could see Sadie was sitting in the grass and they would not let us near the car. I literally stood in the middle of this front yard sobbing into my husband's chest. And looking back, it was such a sweet, tender moment of
Yes.
just us together because we just didn't have those moving forward. It was him and I in the front yard, not knowing what our next step was going to be. And yes, they took Mackenzie out of the car, and this gets me every time, put her on the stretcher and her arm dropped. And I thought she was dead. I did not think she was alive. And a gentleman came over and was asking me where she was going to be life flighted to U of M, asking me where I wanted Sadie to go. He needed me to direct him because he wanted them at the same hospital. And I wasn't understanding that that was my decision. But again, the kindness of this man during this time, he helped me navigate that. My husband was able to jump in the ambulance with Sadie. The individuals that the Phillips family happened in front of their house, they said, let's go. We're driving you to the hospital. By that time, my parents had gotten to the house. So Erin Phillips drove my parents and I up to U of M to the hospital. So just those glimmers, that absolute sweetness, you know, it was just one thing after another. And in my faith walk, I feel like God put those people in the right places at the right time to help steer us during those really critical times.
I mean, it is hard to believe, as you didn't know if she was alive for a while. You didn't know if she was going to live. I didn't know if my son was going to be alive. I had to fly to him across the country, and I didn't know if by the time I landed, he'd be alive. And in those moments, though, there were still such beautiful, tender things happening. And some of them I noticed in the middle. Sometimes as they were happening, like you said, when you fell into travel, like that he was there for you. And there's something about that you just, even in the moment, go like, I'm so grateful that this person is here with me. And
Yes.
that person might be your partner. That person might be another child or a friend, or it could be a stranger. We had
Yes.
unbelievable kindness from strangers in our first 24 hours. You know, I got a call from Dallas's commander. He was in the Space Force. He was in the military when it happened, and his commander called and let me know the kindness he showed me. And then the number of people that came to help out. My best friend drove an hour to get to me to drive me to the airport because he knew my husband and I could not safely drive in that condition. And what are we going to do with the car at the airport? There was so much tenderness and so much offering from other people. Even little things like, let me get you a glass of water, let me get you a tissue. We had to take 2 flights to get to my son because he was in Mobile, Alabama in the hospital, and we're from Oregon. So it was quite a journey to get there. When you book tickets last minute, you both get center seats on the airplane. There's no upgrades, there's nothing good. I was just a disaster. I don't like to talk to people on an airplane, but the guy next to me on the airplane was like, "You okay?" And I said, "No." And I don't like to be touched by strangers, and I don't like to talk to strangers. I'm very interested in being private when I'm out in the world. And he just put his arm around me, and I think that there was snot on him by the time that we landed. He was just so sweet. And as we'll talk about later in the podcast, you and I, our lives are very values driven. You're actively involved in your faith, and I'm not somebody of faith. And this gentleman was, and he was like, "Can I pray over you?" And normally I'd be like, "No, thanks." And I was like, "Absolutely. You can do anything that might help." I'm like, "If you've got the key, let's do this." And it was very tender because I couldn't sit with my husband and was in no condition to negotiate with strangers on the airplane. Like, "Can you let us sit together?" So we just sat where we sat. So anyway, you got to the hospital, and where did you find glimmers in the hospital? What moments were there?
Yeah, the minute we got there, the whole waiting room was full of people. There must have been, I would say, 20 to 25 people already at the hospital. And more continued to come throughout the night because she was in surgery throughout the night. Our son's football coach came to the hospital. His sons were in our kids' grades. He came to the hospital. I remember him handing me $200, two $100 bills. And I was like, this is just really weird. And he's like, here. And I'm just like, oh, thank you. And he's like, you're going to need this. And I'm just like, this was just so kind. And I was just so, again, in shock, not knowing what to do. But I thought, oh, okay, I might need to buy a sandwich or something, not really understanding the amount of time we were going to be in the hospital and what the future held. Just the kindness of somebody to just hand over, here's some money for you, because either, I don't know what their experience was. Have they walked that path before? There wasn't a follow-up conversation about it because life just keeps going, but you don't know where that kindness and love is going to come from. Like you said, a gentleman on the airplane, it doesn't have to be somebody we know. It can be a stranger that we come in contact with. When you were talking about some of the moments of laughter, when we were in the car on the way to the hospital, my sweet dad was in the back seat of the car praying, and it was just the sweetest thing to my heart. And it just really helped steady my emotions because I was feeling very out of control. And I'm not a person that likes to feel out of control. I like to be in control of my emotions and myself. And his words just really calmed me. And we're going down the road, and my mom says, I hate to say this, but I have to stop and go to the bathroom. And I'm like, okay, it's fine. And Erin goes, oh my gosh, that's so good, because I'm on empty and I wasn't sure how we were going to get to the hospital because I was afraid we were going to run out of gas. But I just kept thinking, we got to keep going. I can't stop now. So then, of course, we all burst into laughter because what else can you do? Mom's got to go to the bathroom. We need gas or we're going to run out of gas. We're not going to make it. So it's even those moments that we talked about afterwards. But in the moment, here we are cracking up laughing. Erin and I have talked about that since then too. She's like, I didn't know what to say to you or how I was going to tell you that I needed to get gas, but I figured the Lord would provide. And if we were supposed to stop and get gas, we would. Otherwise, we were going to just make it.
I think a perfect analogy for the first 24 hours or the first year is that you have to pee and you're out of gas. Like that just seems like, I don't know how we put that on a t-shirt that only the families of traumatic brain injury people will understand. I have to pee and I'm out of gas. And I'll be like, me too, sister. Like, yeah, and the coach giving you money is a really interesting thing. That kind of thing happened to us often where people gave us things. I'd never heard of DoorDash. In the first month, we didn't have a GoFundMe or anything. I didn't think we needed that. I felt like that was for people that were struggling even more than we were struggling. Little did I know how long the journey was going to be. So people kept sending me DoorDash. And in a month, I had $3,000 in DoorDash. I felt so guilty, but I wound up living in hospitals and hotels for more than a year. Let me tell you what, DoorDash is real helpful. That kind of thing is really useful. If you don't know what to give somebody, like giving them something easy like that they can just apply to anything or give them cash. And then be willing to receive it. You and I, part of why we're doing this podcast is because we're helpers. We're the people that help in an emergency. We are not the people that ask for help. And boy, if you don't get humbled really fast when you're surviving a brain injury or a medical trauma, because if you don't accept help, you won't make it.
Right. So true. And so I think that's one of the things that I've learned, and it gives you such a different perspective. When there's a situation going on, gas cards, gift cards, even cash, you don't need to wait for somebody to tell you what they need, because guess what? We don't know what we need.
No.
We have no idea. We don't even know how to put one foot in front of the other. But there are those things that you can just do to show love and kindness. People are going to have to eat. People are going to have to drive back and forth to appointments. We were blessed with a church that did a taco dinner to raise money for the girls, which was such a blessing. They did a couple of different gift card drives, which was wonderful. People have to eat, and people are going to have to go back and forth to appointments. When you're looking at somebody in a tough situation and trying to figure out how to help, those are ways to help.
And they offer such glimmers. Like you said, don't ask somebody in a crisis what they need because they don't know, but offer tangible things. Here's money. And $200 is a lot of money. Somebody hands you $10, that's very helpful. Don't feel like you can't be helpful because you can't hit this high number. Even we had a nurse at the first hospital. She was young and really sweet. And she hand wrote a note that I still have. She hand wrote a note just saying how special Dallas, our son, is, and what an honor it was to care for him while he was in a coma. That cost nothing, and it meant a lot. It was a glimmer. I still have that. She probably expected that it'd be in the recycle bin by the end of that day. And I was like, no, ma'am. Oh, no, I'm keeping this. And then you said when you got to the hospital and there were 20, 25 people. When we got to the hospital, it was almost 20 hours later because we didn't find out for 4 hours that that the AVM rupture had occurred because they were busy trying to save his life. Life flighting him all over the place. He'd already had 2 brain surgeries by the time we were notified. When we got there, because he was in the military, and this was summer in Mississippi and Alabama, it is hot and gross. There were 20-ish military members there, many in uniform, standing sentry in the heat outside the hospital, protecting him the way that they could because it was COVID times and they couldn't go in the hospital. They allowed one person in the hospital who, like, it still gives me goosebumps and it's been so many years. One person stood outside of his door at attention, and they did that for the 18 hours it took us to get there. They sent somebody from the military. I don't know if they sent somebody or if somebody volunteered, but somebody showed up in uniform in his old Subaru Outback, moving his basketballs out of the way to give us a ride. Like, glimmer after glimmer after glimmer. And just these people that were present but weren't asking anything of us. They weren't needing anything from us. They were there in love and solidarity and in support. With all that support was this incredible peace that at 24 years old, that my son already made a difference in this world. That people loved and respected him and cared about him. They didn't have to be there. Nobody was there on assignment. They were there because they cared, and they were there for a long time. They were there for days until we could get him transferred. And what an amazing bright light that was, to know that no matter the outcome, because at that point the outcome was not good, that he had already made a difference in this world. That was really powerful to me.
Yeah, that is powerful. Considering Dallas and how far away he was and the community he had built, what a difference he had made. It gives me goosebumps thinking of those soldiers standing guard outside that hospital. What a sweet tribute.
And it's so hard to be a young service member and to be away from your family and in that environment. It's a really difficult experience. You're supposed to be strong and tough. Dallas every Sunday night hosted family dinner at his house.
Oh,
and so, and because he loved to cook, these were just people who'd come over, and they were the nerds and the jocks, because Dallas is all of the things. Dallas loves Broadway and Dallas loves working out. Like, if there's a group out there, he's got a little foot in that group. And it was amazing to see that wasn't just actions without impact. So it was just glimmer, 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 even though I couldn't necessarily see them. I saw a lot of them, but it took me sometimes distance to realize how many there were.
Oh, absolutely. Your brain is in overdrive.
Oh, it's amazing. Also, we need showers. We needed showers and food.
That was not within the first 24 hours, though.
No, I will tell you, this is about 72 hours. I know that's further on, but this is so funny. I only packed one change of clothes, like a pair of shorts and a t-shirt. And then I packed an all black outfit because I didn't know if he was going to be alive when I got there. I mean, I didn't know what to pack, right? I wasn't thinking. So one of my very best friends, Cameron, shout out, is real gay. And I was like, you got to go to my house and you've got to get me some clothes. And his ex-husband, we're all best of friends, was going to fly out to meet us at a hospital because he was really active in the neurosurgical world. He was going to come out and translate language for us because we didn't know what people were talking about. So Scott was going to bring out some clothes for me. Cameron said, I'm going to go pack clothes. Tell me what you want. And I said, I don't care what you pack. I just need clothes. I didn't pack anything. And he said, if you don't give me a detailed list, I will pack nothing but cocktail dresses and fascinators and cute little purses. So if you don't send a list, I was sending nothing but party gear. You have to have people that make you laugh like that. And honest to God, I think he would have. I'm surprised there wasn't some borrowed tiara in my bag. People are so kind. So many people are good in this world. And I saw so much of that.
If you just take one thing away with you today, let it be that even in the darkest, most overwhelming hours, there are tiny lights to help guard you. You are not alone. And even though you are struggling, you're doing better than you think you are.
Absolutely. I've got a quote for you from Archbishop and human rights leader Desmond Tutu. Hope is being able to see that there is light despite all of the darkness.
I love that. We have got a resource. This week, our resource is Search Inside Yourself Guide Meditation for Gratitude. A simple, actionable way to center yourself. We'll link that in the show notes and you can check it out when you have the bandwidth.
All right. And you can always reach us at hello@neuromomscollective.org. We love hearing from you. Or look us up on Instagram, Facebook, or find our website. And keep looking for those tiny glimmers and keep those lights on. Thanks, Amanda.
Thank you.